Now, Mindy has already met Danny's dad, but she hasn't ever met Danny's mom. So the writers were like, hey, let's have her meet his mom.
What could possibly go wrong?
Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be ranking the next episode of the Mindy Project. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, I'm going to give you an agenda real quick. We start off with the Potent Notables, where I give a couple facts or tidbits about the episode or series that I found. Then I go to the episode overview, which is just me talking about everything that happened in the episode. And then I do the rank, the namesake of the show, where I rank the episode in 5 categories on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. I'll figure out what's the best sitcom of all time. Now, today we're going to be ranking the second episode of the 3rd season of the Mindy Project, titled Annette Castellano is My Nemesis, which was written by Tracy Wigfield and directed by Marco Fornioli. Now, just so you know, there are going to be spoilers ahead, so if you want to watch it before you watch or listen to this, I get it, but otherwise, spoilers ahead, there's your warning. But let's see how this stacks up, starting with the Potent Notables.
Potent Notables.
The second episode of the 3rd season aired Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. Now, the restaurant, the Bistro Garden, renamed Denise's for the show, is the same restaurant used in The Office Season 6, Episode 9, where Michael breaks up with Pam's mom during her birthday lunch. And finally, at the end of the episode, Danny says, "Can we not do this in front of Bernard King?" referring to a poster on the wall of Danny's childhood bedroom. Now, we can see the player in the poster is wearing the number 15 and is actually Earl Monroe, not Bernard King, who wore number 30. That's it. Those are the Potent Notables. Let's go to the episode overview. So we had the season premiere that established Mindy and Danny's relationship, so now we start with the storylines about their relationship. And what's one of the big milestones of a new relationship? Meeting the parents. Now, Mindy has already met Danny's dad, but she hasn't ever met Danny's mom. So the writers were like, hey, let's have her meet his mom.
What could possibly go wrong?
And you know, the thing is, this is such a common storyline / plot for a sitcom, but it almost always works, which is why it's so common. And it works again here, not to give anything away. Danny's mom is going to meet Mindy right at the beginning of the episode and mistake Mindy for Danny's cleaning woman. And tell me out there, before Danny says that that's what his mom was talking about, did you all think she was talking about an ex? Or at least confused as to what she was talking about? Because I was. But it definitely makes it worse that she said the old one was always listening to that La Cucaracha music. So we're seeing not only the dynamic between Mindy and Annette, Danny's mom, but also the dynamic between Danny and his mom. He wants to keep her in the dark. Of course, that does not fit Mindy's personality at all, and she is convinced that she can win over Danny's mom. But before we go any further into the A story, let's find out what the B story is. And that was the continuation of Peter's failing relationship with Lauren and how it affects how he interacts with others in the office, specifically Morgan. You see, Morgan has pets. We know this about him, but I don't think I was prepared for him having 40 dogs. Okay, that's not the point. The point is that Morgan is going to have to get rid of his 40 dogs because Tamara is allergic to them. Or at least she says she is. This is the doubt that Peter is going to try to put into Morgan's head because he thinks that Morgan is whipped. I mean, when this story starts, Peter does find Morgan sitting on the toilet to pee because that's the way Tamara prefers him to do it. So, you know, he might have a point a little bit. But Peter is convinced that Tamara is lying about the dog allergy to get Morgan to get rid of his dogs. Despite Peter getting in his head, though, Morgan does decide to go through with an adoption outside the office. Again, he had 40 dogs. That's a lot of dogs. While Morgan is working on his adoption, Mindy is trying to weasel her way into a brunch with Danny, his brother Richie, Danny's mom Annette, and Annette's friend under the mistaken conviction that Annette actually wanted her to be there. Now, for me, I would always just instinctually shy away from this type of situation. Not because I'd be worried about meeting the parents, but just that I would feel like it would be awkward. Am I alone here? I would never want to insinuate myself into a significant other's parents' birthday party. But I'm not Mindy, and Mindy clearly wants to do this. And although it feels like a recipe for disaster, it actually goes pretty well. We even get a montage of Mindy just agreeing with Annette, one of which was Mindy saying, "I know, I hate that ethnic group also," which is really funny. Messed up for sure, but funny. Where things take the inevitable turn is actually when Mindy defends Danny's gift to his mother, which was a new stove. And that is like, it's a nice try, but I prefer Richie's teddy bear. And Mindy is like, no, the stove is a better present. What the fuck? And now Annette doesn't like Mindy. But back to the B story, and Morgan is selling his dogs and is clearly having a hard time parting with them. Now, I will say, Peter had actually convinced me that Tamara was actually full of shit and didn't want to be around 40 dogs. Also, I don't really blame Tamara. That's 40 fucking dogs. But to prove his point, Peter's going to shove a dog into Tamara's face, and then she's going to go into anaphylactic shock. I would think if she's that allergic to dogs, her and Morgan could not be together. After Tamara's brush with death is when she decides to tell Morgan not to sell his dogs. And that's basically the end of the B story, but the A story isn't done. Mindy is determined to make things right between her and Annette, despite Annette's guilt-tripping behavior towards Danny. To this point, Annette has taken a job as a maid at a hotel so that Danny won't have to pay for her stuff anymore, and this is where Mindy decides to confront her. Of course, when Mindy finds her, she's on the ground and hurt and can't move, and eventually Mindy's able to help her and skip a bunch of stuff, and they're friends now. All is well in Mindyland. She goes to Danny's mom's house for dinner, and they share nice moments, and eventually ends up in Danny's childhood bedroom. How the writers found the time to squeeze this scene in, I don't know, but it's hilarious and absurd. I mean, we get Annette saying things like, "A boy's bedroom should never have an erection in it," and "I bought him those pants and he's tearing right through them." I don't know if Rhea Perlman knew what she was going to be saying for the show, but I appreciate her contribution to it. All right, that's the whole episode. Let's see how it ranked.
A rank.
So the rankings are ranked the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then I have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times the episode made me laugh out loud. 1 point per laugh out loud gets added to the total. But before I dive into the rankings here, I just want to say if you're enjoying this episode, please leave a like down below. It really does help us out. And without further ado, the first category is story, which I gave a 4. Pretty simple story. Meet the mom. For a romantic comedy, it's a great story, and it's a great story here as well. There's just not a ton of meat to it, which is fine, but you know, that's why it's not a 5. So let's go to acting, which I gave a 4.5. Zosha's allergic reaction acting was, not great, and Ike Barinholtz is a little too over the top, but these are really small issues, just explaining why it's not a 5. Also, it seemed pretty clear to me that Rhea Perlman didn't know who Bernard King was. Not the best line reader. So let's go to dialogue, which I also gave a 5. The writing on the show is so good. It's fun without losing poignancy, but also just plain goofy. It doesn't work out every time, but when it does, you're in for a lot of laughs. And this one does that. So let's go to episode coherence, which I gave a 4.75. Morgan has 40 dogs. That's too many damn dogs, and he has them in New York City. Who is taking care of these dogs while he's at work? It's just too many dogs. Obviously, this is minor, and the point was for it to be exaggerated, but still, come on. I can't think of anything else, really. Let's go to the next category, which is character relatability, which I gave a 5. I thought this was an incredibly relatable episode. The son wants to do right by the mother. The girlfriend wants the mother to like her. The boyfriend, Morgan this time, is trying to make life easier for the girlfriend. Everyone was relatable. Even Peter's mistrust of Tamara. It's a really well done episode. All right, so we got a lot of high rankings here. Obviously, doesn't need much of a laugh counter to keep it in the top 3 tiers, but it's Mindy, so it got a decent laugh counter. It got me 17 times. That puts the grand total up to 40.25 for this episode of the Mindy Project. That puts it in the meaning of life. As for the series average, it goes to 36.7, moving it a little bit further into the Holy Grail. And if you're ranking along with me, drop your score in the comments. I'm really curious to see if you guys are aligning with me on this or not. I also am really curious about the laugh counters. All right, thanks for listening and or watching. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankpodcast.com. And for those of you who've been watching for a while and haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe and or follow if you're enjoying it. For anybody else out there, you can comment or shoot me an email at info@therankpodcast.com with your questions, comments, or suggestions, and I will reply to you if you want me to. Please also consider becoming a patron on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. But I will leave you with this. Why did they make Rhea Perlman change her wardrobe when she got on set? Because when she read the title of the episode, she came to set dressed as Jean-Luc Picard. Who?
Hello folks, we're back again with nobody's favorite segment. John explains the joke. Get ready for a not funny joke to be less funny.
I feel like you're going to leave this in, but just so you know, Antonio, that's a reference to Star Trek Nemesis. And the villain in Star Trek Nemesis is a clone of Jean-Luc Picard. So there you go.
That's not very funny.
And for those of you who've been watching for a while and are...
Froze up again.